Let's bring in Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com. He joins us on the show. Mike, I'm going with all the interesting storylines with the Jets last night. Okay, tell me if I'm going above and beyond the Call of Duty here. They ran the ball, 49 times last night. And I thought it was Rex Ryan giving the middle finger to management to say, all right, you want Geno in there? Here you go. Geno's in there, but he's going to hand off. Now, do you buy that?
Well, I do, but also it looks like it was the best strategy to win the game because they almost won the game with that approach. I mean, if the guy who's in there isn't the best quarterback on the team and you've got a couple of running backs who can get it done, then just run the ball. But, yeah, I think that there was a certain element of Rex figuratively using language that he would normally just go ahead and articulate.
All right, and then Geno doesn't get introduced with the offense.
It's his decision.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's his decision. Last thing I want to do is go out there and just hear the applause from the hometown fans. They didn't want him to get booed on Monday Night Football. I'm going to guess, and that's why they said to Geno, not so fast. Why don't you wait and go out with everybody else?
Why introduce the offense? It's just so typical New York Jets. We're going to introduce everybody on the offense except the guy who typically gets introduced last, the quarterback. Why not just introduce the defense or just send out the whole team like they do at the Super Bowl? It makes it a bigger story by doing it that way.
I just mentioned the Rams situation and the visual protest they had prior to the game. Why is the NFL not going to do anything in this situation?
Because I don't think there's anything you could point to that would be a violation of any policies. In the NFL, even though the rules are what they are, the NFL takes the bigger picture into account. They understand that there would be blowback if they would do something about it. You make it a bigger story by doing something about it. So I don't know that there's any rule that was violated, and even if there was, I just don't think this is something the NFL wants to open itself up to criticism for.
A couple of columns today talking about the commissioner and maybe losing some of his power, his autonomy there with being able to discipline, be judge, jury.
Well, the NFL is willing to give up some of that power, but not the power that counts the most. Currently, he has the power to make the initial decision in matters of player off-field conduct, and he also handles the appeal process. Well, he's willing to give up the power to make the initial decision, but if you hold the final say, it doesn't matter. You still have the final say over what happens. The Players Association wants him to give that up, and we can point to Friday's decision in the Ray Rice case as the best evidence why there should be an independent arbitrator. Of course, the NFL looks at it and says, well, why do we want an outsider telling us what we can and can't do? We'll make the final decision for ourselves. So I think the Ray Rice ruling from an independent arbitrator hardens both positions. And I don't think the NFL is going to give up that power. And next week when the owners get together in Dallas on December 10, I think not long after that there's going to be a new conduct policy that keeps the power, ultimate power, in Goodell's hands.
But speaking of Ray Rice, the entire situation, how it played out, that Ray Rice is now, free to be able to come back and play, doesn't look good for the commissioner. But is there a point where the fellow owners all say, what's good for the league? He's making us money, but is he the right guy for that position? Are we even close to that kind of question or answer situation?
I think the Robert Mueller report is going to be the key to determining whether or not the owners decide that maybe they need to go in a different direction. One thing that we learned as a result of the Ray Rice appeal hearing is that Rice had the video, that second video that came out on September 8th, and the NFL never asked for it. Well, that appeal process doesn't get into why didn't the NFL ask for it. The Mueller investigation needs to get into why didn't the NFL ask for it. I think the deeper question, because we get caught up in did the NFL have the tape, did they not have the tape, did someone send it to the head of security? I think Robert Mueller's report will answer, or at least should answer, the question of whether the NFL even needed the tape. I think that's the upshot of the Ray Rice appeal ruling. The NFL didn't need the tape. The NFL knew what was on the tape. So we get caught, the dog chasing its tail over whether or not the NFL had the tape. Maybe Robert Mueller's report will make a compelling case that the NFL didn't need the tape, and then we see how the owners react to whatever Mueller has to say.
He's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. You can watch him every weekday night, 5:30 Eastern on NBCSN. What's going on with Harbaugh and the Niners?
Well, he's not going to be back. And I remember when Jay Glazer reported early in the year that he wouldn't be back even if he won the Super Bowl. I thought that was maybe going a little too far because where's he going to go on February 2nd? And how do you let him leave if he wins the Super Bowl? I think you just give him the keys to the kingdom at that point if you're the 49ers. But I don't even think they're going to make it to the playoffs. So he's going to get traded, and it's going to be the Raiders or maybe the Jets, and maybe they can spark a bidding war. You know, when the Browns almost got him back in February, it was 2 third-round picks. That's a far cry from what the Buccaneers gave up for John Gruden 13 years ago. But if you can get 2 teams or more very interested in Harbaugh, maybe they can drive up the price and get a nice package out of it.
Yeah, I forgot about that Harbaugh to the Browns. If you said to Harbaugh right now you could have a do-over, you think he would have gone to Cleveland?
No, because I don't think he wants to leave the Bay Area. His wife doesn't want to leave the West Coast, and that's why the Raiders make the most sense, because if they move, they're going to still be on the West Coast. So he could be the head coach of the L.A. Raiders in 2015.
The Johnny Manziel, Brian Hoyer situation, I mentioned that Mike Pettin is, he got to take his time before he makes this decision. It almost feels like you know what his decision is. You knew it on Sunday, but he has to make it seem like he's really giving this some great thought here to be respectful to Brian Hoyer.
I think you're right, because once you bench Hoyer during a game and put in Manziel, you've made the decision. This isn't the struggling young quarterback and you're switching over to the veteran to try to salvage the season. This is the shift from the guy that you had to the guy that you drafted to be the future of the franchise. You can't put him in for a while, have him do well, and then say, okay, go back and take a seat, and we'll see if we need you later in the year. I think the decision's already been made, and it's just a question of taking their time to unveil it. And, Brian Hoyer makes some pretty good points. He is 10-5 as the starter, but they made this decision back in May when they drafted Johnny Manziel, and now they're just getting around to implementing.
Because the owner wanted him.
Yeah, that's right. The owner wanted him, and the owner's going to want him to they're already playing with house money. Who expected them to win 7 games this year? So whatever happens the rest of the way, they're ahead of the game, and they're laying the foundation for 2015 when Johnny Manziel now clearly is going to be the starter.
Thank you, Mike.
See you, pal.
That's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. You can watch him tonight, 5:30 Eastern. Pro Football Talk on NBCSN.